Okay, good afternoon again. Welcome to the Mayor and Council meeting of Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. A quorum is present. This is for the purpose of discussing tax increase. Mr. Lama, if you will lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Council members, you have before you an agenda. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item number 1 under public hearing for 2024 millage tax increase. Cindy?
Good morning, Mayor and Council. As you're aware, we've been given a temporary tax digest. And when there seems to be confidence in some of these numbers, and Andrew may be able to speak to what are the next steps. But this is the digest that we've been presented with.
We increase her volume a little bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Can you hear me better? Okay, sorry about that. You have before you, this is the notice of our property tax increase. We have a net M&O digest of $4.6 million. The rollback rate is 1.842 mills. We are advertising that we're going to keep the tax rate the same as it was for 2023. And that would be 1.936 mills. When we do the PT 32, this is how we calculate what the tax increase is. We take our prior year tax digest, we have the reassessment that the numbers that were given to us by the tax assessor's office, and then we have the net changes to the digest to get our 2024 digest. As you can see, the rollback rate calculated is 1.842 mills. We're going to hopefully keep it at the 1.936 mills, which is a 5.10% increase. And if you look at this form, our estimated 2024 tax digest and 5-year history of levy, this will bring in about $319,000 more dollars than our tax digest would have last year. One of the reasons that we are making the recommendation to keep the tax rate where it is for 2023 to bring in a little bit of additional funds. We started our budget 1/1/24 and it was balanced. Revenues equal expenditures. We've had 5 budget amendments, which has increased our revenues to $49.1 million, but our expenditures have increased $58.3 million. So we're looking at a spending deficit of $9.2 million if all the funds that we say we're going to spend before the end of the year. Now, we do know that some of the funds, like for the streetscape, the John Davis project and things like that, and our grant matches, which is what the additional funding for the streetscape is of about $3 million. Those will not be all spent by the end of the year, but they will be carried over. Those are committed funds to the grant that we have, the ARPA grant from the state, the flow through ARPA funds. So we won't be spending them probably this year, but they're committed funds and we will spend them next year. But I've put this schedule together. I don't know if you want me to.
Well, I have a question about what you just said. So what is the balance of expenditures over budget after you remove the streetscape committed money where it's
that amount
would have a
is
balance.
almost $3 million.
Okay.
Mhm.
3 million makes up what's going to carry over for streetscape from this 9.2 million.
Yes.
So we still have an overage of 6 million approximately.
Yes.
Okay,
And those funds will be spent. It's just a matter of timing
okay.
for the
Okay, so I'm
construction
trying to get this
project.
straight in my mind. So project out to December the 31st. Taking our budget from last year and what we would have spent by the end of the year. And I guess, do you count those contingent things that weren't spent but are already committed or something?
Yes, we will have to show those at the end of the year as restricted funds.
Okay, so at midnight on the 31st, taking our budget from last year and the projected revenue we get from what you're proposing, where would we be?
We will probably, I don't know when we have to send the housing authority pledge over. So some of this is timing. But when you guys go ahead and approve something, we try to get the budget amendment so that it's properly reflected. But I am thinking, let's see, I've already transferred the funds. So maybe $4 million
To the good or to the bad?
to the bad. I mean, well, to the good, it won't be spent. So that 9.2 million will go to 5.2 million.
So we'll still be 5.2 million over on 12/31.
And as Cindy said, the biggest issue is timing. So when we adopted a budget effective 1/1/24, many of these grants the city has received, at that point, we didn't know we were going to receive them. You know, for instance, some of the airport funding came out of the Bipartisan Infrastructure Act that Congress passed. Received a tranche of funding from that. Additionally, there was some funds made available in the General Assembly's budgeting process. And those projects all carry local matches that weren't accounted for in this year's budget. And so, holding the millage flat will allow us to recover just a very de minimis portion of the fund balance contributions the council has had to make to be able to complete those projects. And, when the federal and state government are funding, upwards of 90 to 95% of the project, it's very difficult when you have these maintenance needs to turn that funding away.
So what, the number she just gave us doesn't count the money we took out this year from the reserves.
Yes.
It does.
Yeah, the 9.1 million on this sheet is what will be dipping into the fund balance to make whole. Some of that will be carryover into 2025. But
So by getting this extra 300,000 or something, we're reducing the amount that we had to take out of our reserves.
Correct. The other issue,
I'm trying to get at.
correct. Yeah, and as you see, I mean, it's a very small number in comparison to what that we've had to commit to coming out of the fund balance. But Cindy highlighted another key point. The temporary tax collection order entered by the judge called for 2023 plus 10%. And in the city, the digest, you would think, that it would have grown 10% over 2023 values. But when you do the math, it's significantly lower than that. So one of the staff concerns is that if we do the rollback, we might actually bring in less revenue than what we calculate on paper, because this has been a moving target over the last couple of months. And so holding the millage flat will be a little bit of insurance to ensure we collect what we're projecting to collect. I think the overall growth was what, Cindy?
Sorry.
In comparison to the 10% the judge ordered, what was the actual? It was like 3.5% after exemptions were accounted for. So it's well short of the judge's order, and we're making do. We don't want to recommend the rollback and then we collect a lot less than what we budgeted for 2024, which was about 8.5 million, and the holding the millage flats projected to bring in 8.9.
If you look at the PT 32, what they were ordered to do, you see the real personal property tax in the 2023 digest. I would have assumed 10% would have been 290 million, not 226 million. And when we questioned Danny's staff about it, there seems to be some real changes in that assessment value is what he conveyed to us. But the real changes should only be in that other column. So we don't really have a great deal of confidence in this digest.
What did they do? Take the appeals adjustments and then, is that how they came up with the 10% on a new amount that took into account all the appeals that they granted and all that?
Yes, and any real growth or decline.
So any new homes that were built, for example, or any homes that might have been demolished, that was part of the judge's order to take that into consideration as well. But as you say, our main understanding of why it wasn't closer to 10% per the judge's order was due to the amount of successful appeals that occurred in 2024.
And we're giving refunds now to some of those appeals,
Right.
which will carry over into 2025.
Bottom line, it sounds like we don't really have a lot of confidence in what we're going to be collecting by the end of the year.
Mm.
That's correct.
My
And-
hope is we're just collecting enough.
So we're still on 12/31. If the collections that we project, as fragile as those numbers likely are, we're still going to have a net deficit after you remove the money that we are saying on streetscape. We're still looking at around 4.5 million that we're not going to make whole from our fund balance. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay, so what we're passing on to our citizens is minimal compared to what someone might challenge us and say, how are you going to make up, the 4.5 million that you're going to your fund balance for? So I think we're being very conservative.
The average value, this increase to someone with a $200,000 home,
Yes.
you're talking about $16.92 a year.
And if we go back, I think we've published over the past, is it about 20 years, 25 years?
21 years.
21
We
years.
have rolled back 10 times.
Okay,
We have reduced beyond the rollback rate 9 times, which impacts the next year because then your rollback rate's smaller when you do the calculation. And this would be the only the second time in 21 years that we have not rolled back or decreased the taxes.
okay. And so that we're clear, we're leaving what we're proposing and what we've advertised is that our millage rate would remain flat.
Yes.
Same this year as last year,
Yes,
but we're still going to have a $4.5 million deficit.
yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions? Andrew, Cindy?
Just a reminder, per the state law requirements, we have to have 3 of these, or really 2, and then a vote to adopt the millage. The second one will be this evening at 6 o'clock with the final vote on November the 12th, a week from today at 5 p.m. And time is of the essence, so that all the taxing authorities are having to set their millage so that tax bills can go out on what we consider on time, to avoid, affecting citizens with other issues like, not being able to account for this on personal property personal income tax returns, and also the effect it might have on escrow payments if folks escrow their property taxes to make sure that those payments can be made before the close of the end of the year. But my understanding is tax bills will likely not be due until sometime in the early part of next year.
So based on what's been advertised, we're not increasing our millage at all. On the contrary, the city schools are proposing what kind of a millage increase?
Legally, we are increasing the tax because we did not roll it back.
I understand we're
Yeah.
not increasing the millage rate though.
We are not increasing the millage rate. It's staying the same.
I understand before the Barnes law back in the 90s, we
Right.
wouldn't have even called this a tax increase.
Right.
My understanding, Councilmember Farrow, is the initial advertisement was something like 20% more than the rollback rate, and they've re-advertised. And I expect it to be between 20 and 30% higher than the rollback.
So to the same $200,000 house compared to our 16, what kind of increase will the people looking at for their school taxes?
I don't know.
We can run that number
Hundreds of
today and
dollars,
report it.
hundreds of
Just,
dollars.
yeah.
Okay. I'm not putting you on the spot. I just curious. Think about my own
Significantly
tax bill.
more.
Huh?
I said significantly more
Significant.
than what ours is, yes.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments? Cindy, Andrew? Oh, good. Okay. We will take no action on this. This is our first hearing. Item number 2, public comments. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to make comments as it relates to the millage rate. Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn, and we'll reiterate what Andrew Parker shared, is that 6 p.m. this evening, we will offer our second hearing. And so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
A
Second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you all for coming.